Hello guys, this is Brian here with a preview video. I have read your comments that you want to look at my beer lights and telephone collection. I only have, let's see, two, three, four telephones actually, plus the payphone in the background. I'll do a video about that too. It actually does work. Now, you can just pick it up and dial the telephone number. It does work with that, but you can use it without money. Because it does require a special circuit from the phone company if you want it to function like a payphone, not to dial out without money. Um, now, of course, barely no payphones left anymore. Um, that's very heavy. It's about 40 to 70 pounds, extremely heavy. So if you do drop it on your foot, you will break your foot. Very, very heavy. Um, but here's a preview of what we're going to be what I will be working on the next couple weeks once I get my camera, because I did order one. I'm going to be working on a home conversion of an old telephone. Now, this telephone was manufactured in 1980, and this is what it looks like. You probably have seen these before in businesses or on TV shows. This is what it looks like. I believe, I can't remember what the particular model number of these were called. 5626 phones, something like that. I could be completely wrong. I have to actually look it up. But this particular phone was part of a SK1 type of phone system. It really wasn't really called a system because it was really basic components to it compared to the 1A2 phones, the phone system. But the way this phone worked is you have your hold button here, line 1's here, line 2 was here, line 3 was here. And then the two amber, which I don't know how I don't think the video is picking that up, but they look like red, but they actually were it's a amber color. These were the intercom and signal path lines, which I don't know why they would just put them at the end, like compared to the other telephones, but it's just how this phone was wired, I guess, or how they're wired the SK1 phones. Yes, you can convert this to use in homes. However, the hold function won't work, obviously, because you have to have the power supply from the SK1 and have it wired correctly and all that. But I will show you a phone from a 1A2 phone system, because the phones from those, it's exactly the same kind of telephone basically, except the buttons are all clear except the hold, and it's wired differently inside. But basically, it's the same thing. And if you wonder why these phone cords are so fat and thick, it's because there's 25 pairs of wire, which means there's 50 individual wires inside this phone that goes to this phone. And the plug for this is what this looks like. It's called Infinite plug. 25 on the top, 25 on the bottom, so just 50 pair. I mean, 25 pair, which means it's 50 individual wires. Now, obviously, these small sets did not use all 50 wires. They probably used maybe 30, maybe 40. It just depends what the little features or functions they have installed. Some of these phones have like a little thing about that big, is called a buzzer. That's what I have in my other telephone. Each, a set of wires control the light, how it flashed, and the line itself, audio, and all that. But if you really want to leave the phone intact as is and don't want to remove the cord, which I don't know who wouldn't, but again, there are some people out there who collect phones and want them to originally to the T. There's an adapter for this, and I'll show you what this is. And you can plug in your 6 lines. This is an adapter that you use on any kind of phone system. It just depends. Here's line 1 and line 2, line 3. So basically, you just taking the two regular phone lines in homes or just a one pair line phone cord, which means just two wires inside. Some of them look like there's four, but in reality, just two is used. Um, and home, residential landlines and business landlines. But this was kind of used for customization of different phone systems. This phone is pretty old. It's manufactured 1980. However, they do go back in rotary days from the 60s and on up on. Um, this phone, I would say, is about 5 to 8 pounds, so it's pretty heavy. They were designed to pretty much day-to-day use, wear and tear. You practically can drop them on the floor; it would still work. Now, of course, the plastic housing of the telephone might be cracked and all that, but it still work compared to today's crap. You drop it, it's all busted and won't work. These were designed to work in power failures compared to today's telephone systems, which don't. Um, the lights may not work, but the lines still work. The ringers may not, but it just depends. Now, I did tinker with it. I did open it up and got the ringer to work on line one, but you can also wire it so you can make it. You can push any button and it'll pick up and it will work. It just depends how you want it to be wired. I already did convert one, a black telephone that was, I think it said it was manufactured early 1970. And however, the parts inside the headset says that they were manufactured in 1968. So probably around there somewhere. The headset may come from a different place, manufactured different time, but it's really a Western Electric 401A2 phone system. It looks exactly like this, except it's black and the buttons are clear, but except the hold button. This phone is not in perfect condition, because there is some people who out there that do collect telephones and they want them to the perfect, originally and cosmetically perfect to the T. Now, of course, there's some things missing on this phone. It's missing the plastic number guard thing, and it's also missing the plastic strip and the label strip for that as well. To me, it doesn't matter for me for my particular use. I'm just an entry-level collector of phones, not an expert. But it's getting hard to find 1A2 phone systems out there. I mean, it's really getting hard because they go back from the 60s and on. And still barely used today, but they were kind of getting faded out in the 80s and early 90s. And these were basic phone systems. They did not have any ability to transfer, or they may have. It just depends. Towards the end of the middle of the 70s and then maybe late 70s, they were able to do transfers, or but not compared to like today's phone systems with call ID, voicemail, and things like that. Different ringtones and all that. These have the old ringers, the old gong sound ringers. What else? They still have intercom, but most of 1A2 phone systems, like in small businesses, only had one intercom path, which means if you had two people talking, a third person cannot call another person. If the office had 4 telephones and 2 people was already talking, the third person can pick up and dial. You could listen, but you can't pick up the dial and dial another intercom unless it was configured with a different intercom card. But when systems were bigger and bigger and bigger, they had multiple intercom paths back then. What else? They did have music on hold, but I think that was pretty expensive, and most of the systems back then didn't do it. Now, I will try to show a picture because this particular one is not a 1A2. This is a SK1, and those were very rare back then because they were marketed to extremely small businesses. And they were not really a system. They were just punch down block with wires with a power supply. But with the 1A2 phone system, which I'm going to try and include, I see if I can find a picture of it on the internet. It has a punch down block where the individual wires were punched down, and then had the line cards. So it looked like, if it's a small system, it looked like the size of a bread box or shoe box. But some of these are huge installations for huge businesses like hospitals and schools and things like that. So I mean, the 1A2 phone system can be big as you want it to, and millions and millions and millions and millions of wires. It probably took a phone company guy to come out to install this with this fat wire and punch it down. It probably took them almost all day, or maybe half of a day, to do that. It's very labor intensive to install these things. And so that's why when in the late 70s and into the 80s, when digital phone systems come out, they were more easier to install. Because inside this phone, there's a whole bunch of wiring terminals that you have to actually wire the individual wires to. So it's really labor intensive. It really is. And I don't think you can find it's very hard to find anybody who knows about 1A2 phone systems to maintain them, and to have them serviced, because there's still large installations out there, or small installations as well, but it's very hard to find a phone technician to be knowledgeable about this, because you think about, hell, the 1970s were 40 some odd years ago almost, and nowadays phone systems are now plug and play. Most of them are. They still have punch down, but most the systems, you just plug in the cord into the phone and then punch it down. There you go. But nowadays they have call IDs on phone systems, voicemail. This is way before voicemail, call ID, and everything. Basic technology. There's no circuit boards in there, I don't think, except the dial pad. Compared to digital sets. Nowadays they're called digital phone sets now, in businesses. So this is primitive technology back then. And these were made to take abuse, and these were made to last. These things, now of course the plastic in parts of it will, eventually will break, but inside the phone, I mean, if hell you drop it on the floor, it still will work. Compared to nowadays, if you drop something on the floor, that shatters and things quit working. And these also were made to work during a power outage compared to phone systems of today, ironically. Now the lamps will not work out. I think the hope function may not work, but the actual lines will still work. Because now modern telephone systems nowadays, the power goes out. If it's not hooked up to a power generator or battery backup, they don't work at all. Let's see here. What else? Like I said, in the next couple of weeks, once I get my camera, I will do a video and take it apart and show you what's inside. Now, with this particular model of telephone, because it was designed for the SK1, the button does light up when it rings, but it doesn't stay on when you pick up the receiver. And it's by design. But there is a way to wire it, but to have it lit up when you pick up the receiver. I'm trying to look for the wiring diagram for that. See, I do have another one from 1A2. I did convert to home use. I also have an intercom buzzer inside, and you just push a button and it goes bzz, bzz, bzz. I did have to buy a power adapter for that to make that work. Now when I do plug it in the outlet, the lights stay on. You really can't. I've read somewhere that you can wire it for it to pick up on the line. The light, when you pick up the receiver, the light will stay on without the phone system component of it. But I tried and tinkered with it. I couldn't do work right on that particular phone. But this one, because it's wired differently, it may be able to do that. But we shall see. So stay tuned. Once I get my camera, I do a tear down video of it, show you what's inside. A lot of people don't realize what's inside these phones to make them work. There's tons of wiring. And if you have any questions, comments, please post them below. If you want to see more, let me know. If you want to see more videos. Talk to y'all later.